The world of Attack on Titan is a huge cage, and within this cage lies dormant our protagonist. And one day, the door of the cage opens, and from there comes the demons. But alongside these demons come the opportunity of freedom. So when I think of Attack on Titan, the first thing that comes to my mind is not really Titans or the idea of freedom or Eren either. It's Mikasa's hot ass. Attack on Titan is about Eren who ends up witnessing his mom's death, and after seeing some traumatizing fuckery done by Titans, he develops hatred and an utter sense of revenge against all Titans. And ironically, he turns into a Titan. And not just any Titan, the one and only Attack Titan. For the longest times, I had a few gripes with Eren's character, specifically the part where he keeps on whining, crying, and keeps on repeating the same problem over and over again, dumping his responsibility over the Levi squad, and then witnessing them die by the hands of the female Titan, aka Annie Lanhart. I personally wasn't a big fan of his character in the beginning of the manga, but over time his character kind of grew on me. As a protagonist, Eren can be extremely cringy and pretty annoying in the beginning of the story. But with time, when you see him develop and age and see him mature and he starts to have an ambition, when from this hero's journey he was in, he transcends into villainhood. That's when you truly start to understand Eren's character. But more so about his adult version in a bit. I would rather like to discuss other characters first and let my opinions out here, if I may so. So first of all, Evan was a fucking god. Like this guy, he was playing chess when everybody else was playing checkers. Throughout Attack on Titan, I have never witnessed another character come close to Evan when it comes to building strategies and actually taking gambles. Like this dude, he like convinced an entire regiment of rookies to march to their deaths in the name of something which he considered to be the betterment of all humanity, and led the charge and died by the hands of none other than Zeke Yeager, the Beast Titan. There was Levi, Hanji, there was Mikasa, Armin. I feel like these were characters that were like done really well. Sasha was also somebody who was written really well. But in my opinion, the character that like had the most changes within the first half of the story, within the first 90 chapters, was actually Eren, and after her it was Historia. I feel like Reiner doesn't really get the credit he deserves either. Reiner and Bertolt were like really impressive villains, especially when they were first introduced, or when they first introduced themselves as the Titan Shifters. Speaking of which, I really love the idea of the Titan Shifters. 9 beings who transcended humanity, becoming actual gods through the act of cannibalizing the previous Titan Shifter, and then having done that to them after 13 years. It was an interesting take on the flow of power in a way, like how power flows from one hand to other, was depicted really well through the Titans. And the fact that each time you have a different shifter, they end up having different powers, was like very creative on part of Hajime Isayama. And then the fact that Eren, out of everyone else, ends up with the founding Titan, as well as the Attack Titan, and then later on proceeds to consume the Warhammer Titan. It truly establishes him as like the perfect monster that he is for the story. Now back to other characters, I feel like Mikasa was like just out there. Same for Levi. Being Ackerman, they were like total beasts, especially when Levi actually does that Beyblade thing. You can't say like he's not like the coolest guy out there. Kinda actually a bit sad though, because later on down the line he ends up losing his limbs and an eye. Mikasa on the other hand only grew stronger with her experience with ODM gear. Then there was Armin. I feel like Armin, being somebody who wasn't all that strong in terms of being a leader, but was actually a really great mastermind behind most important events that happened in AOT. At least from the scouts' perspective and part of the scouts. gave him some value at least. One other character I'd like to emphasize on was actually Floosh. And Floosh was the best guy. He was the best guy. Not only did Floosh actually lead the Jaeger race, he also pursued Armin and his group for the longest time, opposing them. And even though he was a human, he really gave Annie and Rainer a really tough time, which is something that even Mikasa and Levi had troubles with. In my opinion, very few characters actually come close to Floosh in terms of character writing within AOT. Now that we discussed the characters themselves of AOT, let's talk about Chapter 90 and events that unfold after that. So before Chapter 90 and after Chapter 90, AOT felt like two different manga, if I say so. Because before Chapter 90, the story focused on Eldians within the Parody Island. We get to see them with their delusive perspective of the world, how they believe that everything outside it was uninhabited by humans due to the Titans. And we even get to see lives of people like Eren and others who live within the walls. But after Chapter 90, we step outside those walls, and that's when we actually see the perspective of people who live outside, namely Marley, and Eldians who reside in Marley. From Eren, our POV shifts to a different guy, Falco. Falco being one of the warrior candidates who is struggling and due to his personal reasons really wants the armored titan. We also get a deeper look within the minds of Rainer and namely others who survived Evin's final attack. I mean, Bertold was the only one who pretty much died if we are like looking at it from a Marlian perspective. But yeah, we get to see Zeke in action, and then we get introduced to a completely different version of Eren. And him like completely switching his personalities, becoming a completely different person, one who would do everything in his power to attain his goals. He even goes as far as to kill innocent civilians who didn't have anything to do with the Eldian war. He truly becomes a completely switched up different person who would walk on corpses if it means for him to survive and attain his final ambitions. His ambition, of course, being freedom. Then there was the entire thing with Rumbling. All in all, I really loved AOT. But if I were to have any personal gripes with the anime or the manga itself, it would definitely be chapter 139. Because how the manga itself ends, I did not really see the problem in the last chapter, of course. I was fine and content with what happened. The real problem was just how they all glorified Eren's actions. For some reason, even Peak was sort of just praising Eren. The Eren appraisal just seemed out of the blue and pretty whack, if I'm being honest. Other than that, I was fine with the manga and how it ended. Of course, there were people who had strong issues with it in the beginning and near back. A lot of the fandom just blew their tops with the ending and how Isayama just showed everything. But I was more so on the other side. I was fine with how it ended. Even the second drafting he did with the extra 5 pages, that wasn't really a problem for me. So these were my views on AOT. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe and share if you did. As always, peace.